Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Landay, president and owner of Trainers Warehouse, and I'm here today with Nikie Forster, who I met as I was looking for and developing some new products for that use Lego games. Nikie is a learning development consultant and trainer. She works in the UK and has her own company as well called Curious Lighthouse Learning Consultancy. And we developed these two great tools. Nikie has oodles and oodles of experience using Legos for training. I asked her for another fun fact about herself, and she told me that she also was a radio personality for a while and wanted to be an announcer on the BBC, and it didn't quite work, but here we are today. So I am going to let you take the floor now, Nikie, and tell us what you've got.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Sue, for having me on. I'm really excited to share all the different, well, not all the different ideas, but certainly some of the ideas, and certainly the things that Sue and I created together. Just before I share my screen and we get into that a bit more, so I know we created a little short poll, which I thought might be an interesting way of kickstarting us off. So would you mind sharing that for me?
Okay, can y'all see it?
So hopefully what you can see on your screen is the simple question: have you used Lego in training before? And it's interesting listening to what Sue was saying, and I know some places in the world call it Legos. You'll find that in the UK we call it Lego, so either or is fine. But yeah, so if you've never used it before and you're psyched to try it, you've dabbled a little bit and you just want a few more ideas, or you've used it tons already, but you're just looking for more. So we'll just give a couple more seconds on that and see where we end up.
Okay. All right, so we have about 90% answering. I'm going to share the results with you.
Lovely.
So there you go, Nikie. We've got a lot to learn.
Fantastic. Well, I am really looking forward to sharing it with you. So let me share my screen. Okay. All right. So the first thing that you'll notice on this screen is it says using Lego activities for training, and it says my name, but it also says Susan. As she quite rightly said, we work together on the elements that I'm going to share with you today. So Sue, as and when you want to jump in and add anything, then please do feel free to do that. If nobody stops me though, I'm just going to keep talking. So I will share. I'm very happy to answer questions. You can either leave them till the end, or you can pop them in the chat. If I don't get to see them, Sue, would you just kind of make me aware of them? And again, I'll do my best to answer as I can. So before I start to actually get into the Lego itself, I just wanted to talk just a little bit, very shortly, about me and who on earth I am, and why on earth you should listen to anything that I've got to say about using Lego in training. And that little stream of colour along the top is my way of just saying I've done this for a little while. I'd like to think that I know a little bit of what I'm talking about, but every day is a learning day. And Lego was something that came into my training world probably about 10 years or so ago. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So my area of expertise is learning and development. If you cut me in half, that's what it would say right down the middle. And I use every single session, I use some kind of props. So I love Trainers Warehouse and all that they've got to offer for it. And my props range from things that are specifically designed for training and facilitation, and things that I've just made up that I thought would be an interesting way of doing things. So yes, you can see a model of the Titanic in the left-hand top column. I was actually using that as part of an explanation to do with leadership. And you can also see my suitcase that I have down there on the right hand side at the bottom, and that's what my suitcases usually look like when I'm going along to training sessions. It's just full of stuff.
I love it.
Good. Of course, what you'll notice is missing from all of that is any Lego. And that's because it's predominantly what we're talking about. But Lego for me, like I said, about 10 years or so ago, I decided to do a little introductory exercise using some minifigures. And it worked so well. And I was really hyped about how well this had been. And I thought I'd completely invented something new. So I shared it out on social media and I was talking about it. And all of a sudden, there was an influx of people saying, "Oh, I do something similar to that." And okay, so I haven't invented something that's completely new. People do use it. But what I recognized is that different people use it in lots of different ways. And so I started creating lots of different ways that I might use it. I predominantly train managers and other trainers. And so, particularly in the management development world, I started putting together these little activities. So when Sue came along and said, let's collaborate on something, I already had some stuff in the back burner. I thought, well, actually, this would be really interesting to do. And that's when we came up with these two particular products that I'm going to share with you. So on the left-hand side, we've got the Brickmaster story game. Now, I will go through this relatively speedily because it's a lovely, simple concept that has so many different outcomes to it. And I'll walk you through that. On the other side here, you'll see Lego activities for training. Now, this is 21 activities. And what I'm going to do is take you through 3 of my favorites from that. So again, you've got the highlights, if you like. All of these can be used with your own trainer facilitation hat on, and they can be amended to all kinds of different ways of using them. So I'd like you just to have that in your mind when we're walking through them. They're not all set in stone, that they can be tweaked and changed and modified. And I will share some of the ways in which I've done that with my own learners as well. Okay, so happy to crack on?
Oh, good.
Good. All right. I got a double thumbs up there from you, Sue. That was good. All right, then. So the Brickmaster story game, let's start there. So the basics of this, as you can see from that little strap line, is the challenge is to work together to develop a story based on the information that people have on their cards and build an accompanying visual diorama using bricks. Just on the far left-hand corner there, you'll see some of the cards, and they're all the instruction cards that you get within the deck. And it takes you through step by step all the different elements that I'm going to share with you. And these are just 3 of the cards. So one of them, it tells you the types of cards that you're going to get. And again, I'll show you those in a moment. You'll also notice down the bottom, it does say you don't get any Lego bricks with this. It's just a deck of cards. And that's predominant because any Lego bricks work for this. You don't need a specific set. Okay, which brings us on to our second card. So this one, first of all, talks about purpose. Now, we've designed it to look at team building and also communication skills. But actually, this can be used in so many different ways. It can be used in team meetings. It can be used around the family table. If you fancy doing some games, there's lots of different ways of using it. But when you look at the instructions, that's the way we've worded it about team building and about communication and understanding each other. The reason that we're focusing on Lego and why is it just not a standard story game is because that what Lego allows people to do, for those of you who haven't used it before within a training session, is well, let me just backtrack slightly. So what I want you to visualize for me that you are in front of a group of people and you have asked them a question. What generally is going to happen is one of 2 things. One, you're going to get the most extrovert person in the group shouts out their answer, and then everybody else just goes, well, they've answered it, so I'll be quiet. Or you'll get complete quiet and nobody really wants to talk. And they think, well, if I say something, is it going to be the right answer? You might get a mixture of those, but what Lego allows people to do is it gets everybody involved. And don't know whether you can see on the card there, it says it creates a lean-in environment. Everybody is leant forward. They are doing something that is contributing to the overall essence of the activity. So it's not just the loudest ones that get heard. And if people are natural reflectors, it gives them the time to process too. So materials needed, I've already said that you can use any Lego bricks that you want to. What I would recommend, particularly for this, is also having things like minifigures and base plates available. The classic sets from Legos work really well as well, and some paper and pen, so that if people do want to write down their thoughts, then you can have that too.
And Nikie, I think also that once they kind of, we may not have to go through all of these, because as you show them like the cards and how it works, I think that that's may become really apparent also. So yeah, I want to be sensitive to the amount of time, and I know we also have the other games. So
yeah,
that's
okay. That was predominantly my last instruction slide. Okay. So we're okay. We
Perfect.
are on track.
Perfect. Okay.
So these are the 9 headings that you get with the cards. So you can see here we've got people, places, props, perspective, peril, plot twist, and a wild card. And the way in which this works is you would set out your cards on the table with your teams. This works well with one team, but this particular deck of, thank you for showing them there, Sue. This particular deck of cards can be used with up to 3 teams of whatever size you choose those teams to be, but 3 teams is the maximum for this game. And the first thing that you're going to ask people to do is you're going to ask them to pick up 3 people cards, 1 place card, and 2 prop cards. And then they're going to discuss what those cards are. And they're going to start building a representation using the bricks, involving everybody. Now, I've got an example of some of the cards here. So we've got a retired superhero, an explorer, a spy. We also, our places a dark and foreboding forest. And the props cards, a key that opens any door, and a bicycle. So you can see here how people might then start to build in accordance with that. What I would say with this is less is more in terms of your facilitation at this point. So don't be concerned about, well, I've got 8 people, so how are they going to deal with 6 cards? Yeah, let them decide, because that's part of the debrief. That's the stuff that you're looking for in terms of the team dynamics. Is somebody can taking control of everything and somebody's just sat off to the side. Yeah, so all of these are things that you would look out for in terms of bringing it back to the debrief. So once we've got our initial items built, we then start to look into the story more. And in terms of the card decks for this, we've got a perspective card where we would ask them to take one. In this case, we've got a stranger. So they're going to tell the story from the perspective of a stranger, and a peril card. So again, here we've got a storm is brewing, and that can be a literal storm, thunder and lightning, or it could be a metaphorical storm. Again, entirely up to them how they decide it. But then they get together, talk about the story, work as a team, start build more into their diorama, so that the Lego allows them to explain the storyline.
Can I ask you a couple questions as you're going?
Yes.
Did they need to have, you know, a bicycle, a key? Like, do they need those little pieces of Legos in order for this to work?
No, absolutely not. Thanks for clarifying that. So a piece of Lego can represent absolutely anything that they want to. And in actual fact, one of the things that I might do prior to this exercise is just get them to pick up a piece of Lego and talk about how that might represent whatever their role themselves, so that we're already starting to think about metaphors and assigning meanings to bricks that look nothing like it. Yeah, so that's an important distinction to make, that you don't need the actual pieces.
And also in this first stage, they're just building a diorama with this stuff. They're not talking about their story yet.
No, they are. So if I just go
okay.
back to that one there where we start. So the first section, people, places, and props, they're just building. Yeah, but
Okay.
not until they get to the perspective and the peril part can you really start to build your story, because you don't
Okay.
know which who's going to be telling the story and what's actually happening within it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
I don't mean
So
to
yeah,
monopolize the question, so folks can also like write them in.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. If there's anybody else that wants
Okay.
to ask questions, I'm very happy to answer.
I do.
So what?
For
Yeah,
you. Is
yeah,
this can
Karen.
this be done virtually with sending ahead of time a packet of Legos or having them bring Legos? Do you have these cards in a virtual setting to where they can choose them, like a Miro board or a mural board?
So currently we have them as a physical format, don't we? So at the trainers'
We do,
warehouse.
but we can work on that.
Yeah. I mean, as you can see from this, it works fine in terms of virtual stuff, and you can use it on Miro. I have done something very similar previously, so it can work. The only thing is then with the building of the Lego, if everybody is in different areas,
Yep.
there's a lot more conversation time for them to have in terms of, well, how are they actually going to make that work virtually when it's not all in one place. So taking the photos and putting it on Miro and moving it around usually works fine. There might need just some extra timings involved in that.
So
Yeah.
could you do it though with the people on a single team in different places? Or you're just thinking about different teams together at different locations?
So the way that I would probably be doing it, because I'm remote only, I'm remote only for health reasons. I have a compromised immune system, so I don't go into offices where there's perfume and things like that. So it would be me working with an organization where they are actually all back in the office. And so I could send ahead of time the thing, and then we would do it collaboratively online, where I would probably ask for permission to put these cards into that virtual format that I use. And that's something that if you want to talk about later and collaborate on, I'm more than happy to be the fingers that do it. I would just need the permission, and then share back the Miro downloadable or uploadable for people who have the paid license and such. So I would use it from virtually from my perspective with them virtually, but they are all in the office, and I would send like a Lego pack ahead of time. And yeah,
Great.
Yeah.
how I would envision using it.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Cool. All right. So then once we're at this stage, then every good story needs a plot twist. So that's what we have here. And the cards tend to ask you to pick another card. So in this case, we're picking another peril card to add to the story. And in this case, an unexpected visitor changes things. So we're kind of mixing things up again. We've already got this story, but we want to introduce something else. And again, you're looking for the dynamics around that in terms of, well, how do they deal with that change? What do they do with that? So we've got all the elements of our story here, and the only other cards to mention are the wild cards, and these are all about the bricks rather than the story. So this is for you as a facilitator to think about, do I want to use this or not? So an example of this is one of the models must be made with only 5 bricks. So if you're going to use this type of card, you want to introduce it early on so that they can do. There's another one that says the model must be upside down when it's built. So it's all about the bricks, and it just adds another extra dimension to it.
And I think you said in the instructions, you can either choose to use that or not.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not. It doesn't add to the story, but if you've got a team that needs a little extra challenge around it, it's a good one to add in. Okay.
And I want to be cognizant of time here, Nikie. We're at about 20 after. And maybe by some nods or some thumbs up, the group can tell us if we go over a little bit. Hopefully you can stick with us, and we'll also post this online in case we do go over. You can access the end if you can't stick
Okay.
on the call.
I will talk more quickly.
There's just so much good stuff.
I know. I'm sorry. So these are just some images of where I've used it previously. So you can see the whole lean in side of things. And all I really want to say to round this section off is around the debrief. It's all about the debrief. So getting them to think about those questions that are really important So it's not just we've been playing with Lego for the last half an hour, it's we've actually learned something about the team or our communication style. Okay. All right.
And I'm
So,
also just going to point out that you have a bunch of questions for if your focus is on team building versus using it as a communication tool. You
yeah.
can always, just as Nikie said, you can adapt this to any needs. If you have other things that you want to use it to pull out, that's great too.
Fantastic. Okay. So the other deck of cards that we've got is the Lego activities for training. It's divided into 3 sections. So icebreakers and introductions, communications, and team dynamics. And if I get a chance, I'm going to talk you through 3 of my favorites from those. So the first one being icebreakers and introductions. And this one here, you can see it's number 1 on the list, and it's called My Activities. Now, where I would use this is to get people to really delve deeper into a specific topic. So, for example, let's use new managers defining their role. So you would get them to take an A4 piece of paper and divide it into 6. Now, I have purposefully made my lines very scruffy on this to remind myself to say, don't print out nice and neat divided up pieces of paper, because it takes away the ownership from the individual. So get them to draw it and get them to take 6 bricks or 6 models that represent their role as a line manager, or whatever you decide is the topic for you, the best things within leadership or communication styles. And again, some of these are individual bricks, but some of them are built. So the idea around this is that they would then share that within the group. If you've got a small group, they can do it one at a time. If you've got a larger group, they can split off and walk around, get them to put their names on the pieces of paper, and people can kind of work out what it is. Just a couple of variations on that bottom left. We've just been talking about doing stuff virtually. That was from a virtual session that I ran, and I used that as an example of what I wanted them to do. Bottom right, I'd already been doing some coaching with somebody around role models, and I printed it out, and we were just going to write down, well, what does that really mean? And actually I used Lego in order to do that. So a couple of variations on a theme.
And Nikie, before you move on, can you actually go backward to show the image of the instruction cards so that we can just sort of review what you're going to see for each? You'll see the 7 activities, which is on kind of the back of this header card. And then each activity has the purpose and overview that includes the amount of time that you'll need, the preparation, and the bricks. And then you have by steps, step 1, step 2, step 3, how to facilitate the activity and how to debrief it. So for all 21 activities, you've got all of that information. So Nikki's talking us through some of that, but know that all that stuff is right there for you.
Absolutely. And anything that's in red italics is the kind of thing that you would physically say to your learners. So it's almost scripted for you if you wanted to use it in that way.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thanks. Sorry to interject.
No, that's good. All right. So another one of my favorites. This is from the communications deck. Again, there are 7 to choose from. This one's called The Right Duck. And you would start off by giving them 6 identical pieces. Now, my 6 look like they could make a duck. Your 6 don't have to at all, but everybody gets exactly the same 6 pieces. I tend to use little googly eyes on my one of my squares there. And the instructions literally are, I want you to build me a duck. And off they go. And watch the chaos ensue, because it just doesn't matter how many people you've got, even if you've got 20 odd people, they are all going to end up with probably a very different duck. You can use this activity in all kinds of different ways, and talking about, resources and limited resources and outputs. But the way that I use this is because it's the right duck. Once everybody has built it and they've held it up and they've all shared it, the question then I ask is, how do you know it's the right duck? Most teams that I do this with start to look around for a duck that they like the look of, whether it's on a PowerPoint slide or a workbook or somebody's in the group, and they start to remodel. But even if they do that, I would then ask again, well, how do you know that is the right duck? And I keep at it. You have to hold your nerve on it, because what you're looking for is to somebody say, well, we don't know. Well, how do you know? How will you know it's the right duck? And you're looking for them to say, well, you told us, you tell us if it's the right duck. The way that I bring this back and debrief it, if I'm talking to a group of leaders or line managers and I'm using this activity, it's about clarity of communication. It's about, just because I know what a right duck looks like in my brain doesn't mean to say everybody else does. Karen, you have a question?
Just a comment. I've used a similar one to this, building the duck, and same kind of questions, and usually working with teams who have just been told, oh, you're empowered, right? But they don't actually know how to make decisions. And so I use this or they're fearful of making the decision. So I use this for them to build confidence on, this is the right duck because, right?
Yeah. So the idea is it's about clarity and criteria. For this particular activity is about setting the right criteria. So in my case, I often say, does it look like it's standing? Is it facing forwards? Does it use all 6 bricks? Even with that, we're still going to get different ducks. If that's what I'm happy with, that's fine. But if it's something that needs to be much more specific, if you're talking health and safety, first aid, you don't really want, umpteen different ducks. You want your ABCs in place. So it's how you facilitate from that perspective. Okay. I'm going to try and cram in the last one then before we get to our half hour.
Go for it. Go
All
for it. And then we'll take some more questions and comments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one's all about team dynamics. If anybody has ever heard of Lego Serious Play, this is probably the closest that you'll get to it in this particular one. For those of you who haven't, Lego Serious Play is a set of principles and methodologies that follows a distinct path in order to allow everybody to have their say, be heard, and build something together. So in this case, we're talking about defining company values. And the way in which I would do this is obviously work out how many values we've actually got within the company, introduce them if I needed to, because even if you've got the values, not everybody in the company is necessarily going to know what they are, and then divide them out amongst the people. So let's say I've got 10 people in the group and I've got 5, let's make it easy, 5 values. Then I'll assign 2 people to have that value, 2 people to, so they've all got an individual value each to do, and they're going to build themselves their representation of what that value is in Lego format. Once they've done that, I will get them into their values group. So you remember I said 2 people will do 1 value. They come together and they talk about, okay, well, what did you build? Well, I built this. Oh, I built this. Well, this is what it means to me. And already we're starting to into a discussion about the differences of opinion about what a value might mean to them. And then they will come together and then they will start to look at, well, how can we bring that into a single model? And then what we do is we bring everybody together to talk about all their different values that they've got. So just in terms of a visual representation, it's just Lego City everywhere. And just get people to start choosing and playing. But these are some of the things that I've ended up with in some of my own workshops in the past. You can be some very simple down there at the right hand side to something much more complex down there on the left hand side at the bottom there. And you can make links towards different sides of things also. But the upshot of this is, in terms of the debrief, is looking at, well, when you first started thinking about what that was an individual, how does that compare now to the end of the discussion that we've had with the whole team? And how is that represented in terms of the Lego? And it becomes a working model. I've seen companies have this before in the foyer, in like a trophy case with proper signage and the stuff. So it becomes part of the working elements of the company. So I know I've flown through those really, really quickly, but I'm hoping that that's given you an insight into the types of things that we've actually got within there. Oh,
that's awesome. Well done. Well done. Let's take a moment to let you catch your breath, Nikie. Thank you.
thank you.
And yeah, you stopped the share. I'm gonna just go to kind of a gallery view also. And feel free to either ask questions in the chat or unmute yourselves and ask. I do see a note from Anna asking, so you buy your own Lego kits. That's correct. Trainers Warehouse did look into supplying Lego kits, and we can't really get very good discounts on them. And so it feels a little silly to be, to have to do that and mark them up. But we also know that Lego is so readily available, and lots of people just have buckets of it in their, in their basements or attics, or, kids' neighbors have them. They're available on eBay, or, Facebook Marketplace, or et cetera, et cetera. So getting that stuff is pretty easily done. But like Nikie said, and some of the instructions on the cards say that some exercises are best if you have like little people, or if you have like a flat, like square piece that they can build their diorama on. So, there may be some requests, and we also make some suggestions for a certain kit that you can get online from Lego. So, and this, Lego hasn't authorized this. It's just that we use their bricks, or frankly, any other bricks, to run these activities.
So just adding on from that, Sue, just in case you're looking for very specific bricks, Lego do a section called Pick a Brick, where if you go onto their website, you can buy, a single brick of a specific type if you wanted to. I tend to use the classic sets because they've got quite a wide range of different colors and pieces in there, and they also come with little eyes as well, so that if somebody wants to build an animal or a person and they want it to represent something that looks like an animal or a person, you've got these little eyes in there too. I've just seen in there another question from Anna that says, what's the best size or number of Lego? Anna, just to clarify, do you mean the amount of people that you've got in a group and the amount of Lego that you use?
There I am. Thank you. No, I've been involved in this, and we used giant kits, which were a pain in the neck to transport, and they were these tiny little baby Legos. And the first time I did this, I'm old. I never used Legos as a kid, right? And they're like, no, you have to find this piece, this piece. Well, I couldn't find it, and it took like 20 minutes, and the exercise was over. And then later on, they're like, oh yeah, yours didn't have that in it, the kit. So my first experience wasn't the best. So I bring this up because if you're going to do this, you have to ensure that everybody has exactly what they need, or it doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating. But
absolutely,
it's a great process. And the people that I use are certified in Lego Serious Play. So it was very like minimum 4 hours. You can go long, and we took pictures of all of that, and the discussion was so valuable. It was very, very good, which is why I like to see this, because it's a little bit smaller scale, not quite so overwhelming. As a facilitator, I'm not certified in this, but I can see doing some of this to really get things going. But the virtual aspect would be really cool. And if there was like an AI thing where you could move puzzle pieces together and people could do that collaboratively, but I don't know if that's even possible yet.
That's another level. We also had, before the session even took place, a question from somebody about running a Lego experience across like a 3-week period and sort of building on it, which I thought was a really interesting question. And there, as Nikie had replied to this fellow, there, with the 21 games in this deck, there are a lot of ideas depending on what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. And just like it's the debrief that's so important, picking the game that's going to help you accomplish your goals is the other piece. Like, we've talked about before, be focused on, if you're going to play, what's your purpose? What do you hope to achieve?
Yeah. And so then my question is, as a facilitator forever, though, I always look for a facilitator kit or guide with best practices. Do you have that as part of this package? Because you ask those really good questions to get to the whole purpose or objective of the meeting. So that's all in there too.
Yes.
So as part of, sorry, so go on.
Oh, I was just going to show a card that has like the debrief examples.
Okay. I
But
can't see
so
that.
yes,
Okay.
each card has, as I said, complete facilitation notes and suggested debriefing questions.
Perfect.
So, yes, we do try to have you covered there, as we do with all of our products.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And anybody have got any more questions?
All right. Well, I'm going to do a formal thank you to Nikie for being here, for working with us on creating these amazing products. You're getting lots of claps. Thank you. And I'm going to stop the recording there and say have a good day.